Every generation has a writer who changes the rules. Biggie changed rhyme density. Kendrick changed narrative structure. Dylan changed what a lyric was even allowed to say. But what happens when one artist does all of that? In two languages simultaneously, and the mainstream world still hasn't given him his flowers. Today, we're gonna go line for line, bar by bar, through the catalog of Namjoon, RM of BTS, and I'm gonna prove to you, with a producer's hat on, that this man is the most technically sophisticated lyricist working in popular music today. Before we get into the music, and we are gonna get into the music, I have timestamps for everything. Let me address the elephant in the room. When we're talking about great lyricists, we pull up Nas, Jay-Z, Andre 3000, Kendrick. These are names that get serious, critical weight, and rightfully so. But RM, he's still being filtered through the BTS lens, through the fandom, through the pop machine. And that framing has prevented a real, technical conversation about what he actually does on the page. So here's what we're gonna do today. I'm stripping all of that away. No fandom context. We're talking about this man's writing, the same way we talk about any crazy lyricist, and we're judging it by the same standards. Over 200 songwriting credits, multiple full solo records, features with Erykah Badu, Anderson .Paak, Eugene, certified RIAA Gold and Platinum plaques. This is not a pop star who got a writing credit for changing a word. This is a craftsman. Let's talk about what a songwriting credit actually means, because casual listeners don't always understand this. In pop music, even hip hop, it's extremely common to have 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 writers on a single track. That's not shade, that's just how the industry works. Top liners, producers, co-writers, sample clearances. RM regularly writes or co-writes with one other person, the full lyrical architect of a song. Take Intro, Persona from the Map of Soul. Persona, written by RM with contributions from P-Dog. The central philosophical question, who am I when I perform identity for others? That's a concept that took Jung an entire academic career to interrogate. RM does it in the hook. And here's what a producer notices. He doesn't just ask the question, he embodies the sonic structure. The track never settles. It keeps building, but never resolves. The music is the argument. Okay, now we get technical. This is the part where if you're a songwriter or producer, I need you to stop what you're doing and just listen. Because most listeners hear RM's lyrics and think deep, thoughtful, philosophical, and that's true. But what they're missing is the architectural sophistication happening at a phenomenal level. Listen to what's happening sonically, even in translation. Every line has a 2-beat anchor, followed by a 3-beat expansion. That's symbolic architecture. That is the same rhythmic skeleton that Shakespeare used in sonnets. But here's the layer that doesn't survive translation. In Korean, the final syllables of lines 1 and 3 create a rhythm that also functions as a grammatical parallel. He's rhyming and mirroring sentence structure simultaneously. It's a classic rhetoric device and a lo-fi R&B track in 2018. Now the flip to the other end of his range, Joke, from his first mixtape. This is RM showing off pure technical rap skill. I know, in English that sounds simple, but the Korean version of this track is a 4-minute internal rhyme maze. Every line is threaded through the next, effortlessly. Vowel sounds bleeding from the end of one bar into opening the next. As a songwriter, the thing that gets me is he writes for the sound of language, not just the meaning. The best do this. Kendrick does this. Eminem does this in his technical peak era. Jay-Z does this. RM does this in his first mixtape at 20. This is one of my favorite examples to show skeptics, because on Still Life, RM writes alongside Anderson .Paak, one of the most respected musical craftsmen of his generation, and they match bar for bar, line for line. I didn't want to be a flower in a painting, but now I think I understand. Even cut flowers had their season. Even preserved things hold warmth. That metaphor, cut flowers still having a season. It's still doing so much work. It's about fame. It's about the idol system. It's about morality. It's about the question of whether preserved beauty is still real beauty. And he gets there in 4 lines. That's compression. That's the fundamental skill of a great songwriter. Saying the most in the least space, with the layers that reward repeated listening. Let me talk about something that I think separates RM from almost every other writer in popular music today. And that's his relationship with duality as a structural device, not duality as a theme. Everyone does that. I'm talking about duality built into the grammatical construction of the lyric itself. The context here, RM is drawing from a Martha Graham quote about an artist's greatest fear. The moment when your art no longer moves you, when you feel nothing. But look at the grammar. Maybe I've already died. I just haven't felt it yet. The subject is ambiguous. Is it the artist who is dead? Or is it the art that is dead? In Korean, the ambiguity is even more intentional. The grammar allows both readings simultaneously. That is a James Joyce move. That is a Toni Morrison move. You're writing a lyric that is both things at once, depending on where you place your attention as a reader. That's what makes him a true artist and one of the best of today's time. The Map of the Soul project is where RM's lyrical ambition becomes almost unreasonable, because he isn't just writing individual songs. He's writing a conceptual agreement across 3 acts. Persona acts, who am I for others? Shadow acts, what do I hide from myself? Ego acts, can I have both of these things and still choose to live forward? That is a complete therapeutic arc. And he maps it out across 3 separate tracks and 3 complete different sonic registers. Pop anthem, thematic rap, funk disco, while maintaining to give you a lyrical masterpiece in each record. Name another artist in any genre who has done that in the last 10 years. I'll wait. Here's the argument I always get, but you have to speak Korean to really appreciate it. And I understand why people are saying that, but I want to push back hard, because if we accepted that argument, we couldn't talk about Neruda. We couldn't talk about Wright. We couldn't call Homer a great poet because most of us read translation. The mark of a truly great writer is their craft survives translation. The architect is so strong, the metaphor is so resonant, the structural choice is so deliberate, that even though you flip through another language, you feel it. And that's what RM does. When I read the translated lyrics of Moonchild, the image isn't a K-pop image. That's a universal image. That's Mary Oliver. That's a lyric that belongs in a global canon of poetry about loneliness and beauty. The fact that it was written in Korean and delivered over a trap beat does not diminish that. If anything, it makes it more impressive if you ask me. We can go ahead and compare what RM said in Forever Rain. To Pablo Neruda, Tonight I Can Write. Both those lines are doing the same thing, taking an overwhelming emotional experience and anchoring it in a single physical sensory image. Neruda gets celebrated for it in literary departments. RM gets streamed 200 million times. The craft is the same, the reach is different. I can't do this video without talking about Right Place, Wrong Person, because this album is the argument completed. On this record, RM isn't writing about the identity crisis anymore. He's writing through it. He's arrived somewhere. Not at certainty, but at the acceptance of uncertainty. And the lyrical register shifts completely. Here's where I land. RM is not the greatest lyricist for a K-pop artist. He's not the greatest lyricist despite writing in Korean. He is not a great lyricist with an asterisk. He's a great lyricist full stop. By every technical measure we apply to the writers we put in the canon. Rhyme complexity, metaphoric compression, philosophical ambitions, structural innovation, emotional range, cross-genre mastery. He belongs in that conversation. The fact that it took the global music world this long to have this conversation is not a reflection of his talent. It's a reflection of the barriers we built around what legitimate music is supposed to look like. And those barriers, they're coming down. Slowly, but they're coming down. Albums like Indigo and Right Place, Wrong Person are the evidence. So the next time someone asks you who the best lyricist working today is, I'm not telling you the answer. I'm telling you not to reach for an answer before you actually sat with his catalog. Do the homework. It'll change how you hear music. All right, if you made it to the end of this, first of all, you are my people. You are Rotten Rose family. I appreciate you so much for taking some time out your day to watch this. Second, drop in the comments which RM lyrics hit the hardest for you. I want to see if Forever Rain takes the top spot or if someone comes through with a deep cut. If you want me to do a full line-by-line breakdown of any of these songs that I mentioned today, specifically Black Swan or Still Life, let me know. And we'll even go deeper on the next video. Like, subscribe, hit that hype button, all that good stuff. But more importantly, go listen to Mono tonight. Just the whole thing, start to finish. And tell me that that is not literature. I'll see you in the next one. It's your boy RottenRoseQ, and I'm out of here.